As France hosts global leaders for an AI action summit, Germans are concerned about the potential negative impact of AI in the current election campaign. 88% of Germans fear manipulation from foreign actors as they prepare to vote on February 23rd. And this includes interference through social media disinformation, including deepfakes. To tell us what's happening on the ground, we are being joined by DW's Thomas Sparrow from Berlin. How widespread is disinformation in this political campaign?
It is certainly a problem that is very present, especially on social media platforms that are spreading or amplifying misleading or false statements, sometimes even automated by bots that are spreading a lot of disinformation online. But what authorities are also concerned about is disinformation that may come from state or non-state actors. In other words, political interference through information platforms. And in particular, there's one issue of concern here, namely disinformation that may come from Russian actors spreading pro-Russian disinformation and disinformation against Ukraine. This is something that here in Europe has been called the doppelganger campaign, which has different ways of spreading disinformation, including media, cloning, including spreading disinformation on social media platforms, including using also influencers on different social media channels. So it's something that is definitely a matter of concern for German authorities, and German intelligence agencies, in particular the Domestic Intelligence Agency, has been looking at this clearly, because this goes simply beyond spreading misinformation. It is something that has then very clear political and even security implications. But disinformation is not only something that comes from Russia. German officials are also looking at, for example, what's coming from the United States, and in particular from someone like Elon Musk, the owner of platform X, who has been amplifying false or misleading narratives about Germany on his platform. And that's something that is obviously a matter of concern for authorities here, especially as Germany is in the middle of this political campaign for the elections that are going to take place on February 23rd.
Also, how are authorities reacting? How are they preparing to stop this disinformation, especially as voters cast their ballots?
So one element is that actually at the European level, with the Digital Services Act, with this act which specifically wants to foster a safe environment online, an accountable environment online. And one of its specific goals is actually to tackle disinformation on social media platforms. One of the goals is for platforms themselves to actually eliminate disinformation or hate speech in a more broader way, if you want, but that's only one element of the whole picture. Obviously, German authorities here at a national level are looking at the issue of disinformation very closely, in particular when it comes to interference from external actors. And then there's another aspect as well, which is trying to empower non-governmental organizations, try to empower citizens so that they can also tackle the issue themselves when, for example, they find examples of disinformation online. So as you can see, it's a multifaceted approach, one approach that includes government officials, non-governmental organizations, citizens themselves, and one that is increasingly becoming also an international approach as well.
Thomas, when it comes to AI, how is Europe preparing to deal with the negative side of the technology, which is AI-generated disinformation?
It is obviously important to stress that AI is not all bad. There are very positive sides to artificial intelligence as well. And in fact, those positive sides is something that European authorities are trying to foster also at a European level. We saw that very recently during that artificial intelligence summit in Paris, with more money that is going to be going to European companies also so that they can work on artificial intelligence. But there's also the negative side of artificial intelligence. And one of those elements that are negative and worrying is in particular AI-generated or AI-enabled disinformation, in particular when it comes to deepfakes. And there is something where, again, the approach is multifaceted, where it comes to also laws at the German level, at a European level that can tackle this, but also basically, again, in empowering people to understand the differences and to basically use artificial intelligence in a responsible way, both when creating things with artificial intelligence, but also when consuming products that have been created or enabled by artificial intelligence. So all in all, a very complex phenomenon, a very complex issues, which has on the one hand positive elements, but on the other hand elements that can be identified as negative and that are a matter of concern for officials here in Europe.
All right, Thomas, thanks a lot for those updates.